Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Crushing Land. I'm Jonathan from The Land Method, happy to be here with you. And let's talk about something that's driving me and probably your sellers nuts. Land investors in 2025 are still out there using 2015 tactics, or worse. They're doing one touch and done. And the quality of those touches to that person, it's even worse, right? I'm talking about blind offers that make no sense, cold calls from people who clearly have no clue what they're doing, and messages that scream, I don't take what I'm doing seriously. So today, I want to take a few moments and I want to break this down. I want to break down why this happens, what's causing it, and how you can do better. Because the fact is that the vast majority of your competition, there's competition out there, there's a lot of people doing this, but the vast majority of your competition isn't doing this the right way. So why is this happening to begin with? Well, the root of the problem is just simply old systems, old education, old way of doing things, not being adaptable, basically just getting stuck in a rut. You start doing things a certain way, and I'm just going to keep doing them that way. Much of the land investing systems, education, ideas, all of that that's floating out there is outdated, right? It was built during a different time. I worked in those times. You could send out a few hundred letters. You'd get a number of phone calls back and you'd scoop up deals at a discount. I used to tell people to be successful in this business, if you have to literally set yourself at a minimum of 300 pieces a week, 300 pieces of mail a week, and you could be successful in this business. Well, that's just simply not true anymore. Right? Today, many programs are still teaching this. They're still teaching this one-touch marketing aspect. Some are in, or they're all in for direct mail. Others teach a shotgun approach, just blast any market with as many blind offers or texts, and let's hope that something sticks. If you do it enough, something will stick. And worse yet, when it comes to all these things, people copy these same terrible templates that they learned from a course 10 years ago, and they push them out there in bulk without checking. Does this even make sense anymore? How do I know this? Is this because I'm out there gauging what others are teaching? No, I'm not. Honestly, I'm not paying any attention to what others are teaching. But what I am paying attention to is the marketing that I receive on land that we own, whether it be direct mail, whether it be a call, whether it be a text message, or whatever. So let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about this terrible marketing, how bad these methods has become. So just this week, literally yesterday, actually, just yesterday, before I'm recording this here, my business partner received three blind offer letters for three different lots that he owns, all from the same person. All of them were exactly the same. They were for $7,500. So what's the situation with these properties? Well, one of those lots, that's about the market value of that lot. The second one, it was basically worthless. It was a landlocked freebie that has a very low value that he just got because somebody threw it into the deal when he bought some other properties. The third one, well, that one's worth about $20,000. So how in the world are you making an offer for $7,500 on three different lots when one of them is worth $1,000, one's worth 7,500, and one's worth about 20 grand? Doesn't make any sense. And here's another incredible part about this marketing. He sent it to me. Each letter was labeled as purchase agreement, bold at the top, just like anything else, and showing that $7,500 figure as if it was this final offer. Here's the number. This is what we're giving. But then, right next to that, literally right next to it, it says, get your cash offer today. And then there's multiple ways, phone calls, email, website, things like that, to call in to contact. So which one is it? Are you offering $7,500 or are you asking them to reach out for an offer? It didn't really make sense, right? All of this jumbled nonsense is on one sheet of paper. Now, I've been in real estate for 20 years, over 20 years, and to me, I'm confused. I'm like, what are you actually asking them to do? And my business partner, he said the same thing. So, do you think that owners that don't have any experience are going to take that seriously? Right? Not a chance. That's not how you build trust, right? That's how you burn leads in this business. Here's another one that happened. Again, this week happened to me. I get a cold call. Now, anyone with half a brain could tell that this person was just reading off a script. They had no clue what they were talking about. English clearly wasn't their first language. They had this heavy accent. It made it very difficult to understand. You could tell there was no way that they were calling, from this country. They had no confidence. They had no clarity. They had no grasp of what they were talking about. They didn't even have the basic structure of a land deal. So as I'm having this conversation, I'm thinking to myself, that's the first impression that you're giving your sellers, right? You might as well just tell them, hey, I'm calling and I'm not professional and I'm going to waste your time, right? Again, you're not just losing a deal, you're damaging any sort of rapport, any sort of credibility that you have. So again, I don't know where they're getting this information from. I don't know what templates they're following. I don't know anything about any of this stuff, but this is stuff that is happening because it literally happened this week, right? The second week of June, 2025. These are things that we were personally seeing. Now, here's the bottom line with all of this. A lot of this confidence, we're going to call it false confidence, but a lot of this confidence came from a hot market. Why is it false confidence? Because a lot of newer investors got into land in the boom that started in 2020 surrounding COVID. Everything was hot. People were eager to sell. Money was flowing, right? You could just do something and you could throw stuff at the wall as it was when it came to marketing, and a deal would fall in your lap. That happened before too, right? Everybody and their brother got into real estate, right? People were home, they were away from work, they were working remotely. So it was a nice thing to get into, and then they thought they had it all figured out. Well, that happened 14 years earlier in 2006. Everybody, again, got into real estate. Everybody was an agent or an investor or whatever in real estate. And of course, the crash happened and they had to change in 2008 and everybody scurried away. Well, what's happening now? Well, the market is more normal, which means that you actually need to have some sort of skills. You actually have to have some systems. You actually have to have some follow up. It's not just this one trick pony method that maybe worked in the past to just get some deals to come in. And unfortunately, many of those investors have only learned how to market, how to deal with things in a hot market, right? They've never actually had to truly work a lead. And so they're really not sure what they're doing. And just like we saw, in 2008, we're going to see the same thing now as more and more and more people are getting out of the business because of that. So let's talk about strategy for a minute. Well, let's talk about the shotgun approach, right? Just blasting out messages, offers, cold calls, and hoping something sticks, right? It's inefficient, it's sloppy, it turns sellers off, right? What works today is depth, strategic depth. What does that mean? It means doing your research. It means using accurate valuation. It means sending clear messages, clean offers on the property. It means that you follow up consistently, but not aggressively. See, what happened is some people shifted so heavy. The bottom line is you don't need to be touched by that person 12 times in a week. That's what happens, right? It's like a couple times a day. It's like they're just coming at you aggressively. No, what you really need is 6 to 8 touches over a number of months, positioned professionally and using tools that automate the vast majority of it. And by vast majority, I mean like 95%, because that's what we're doing. And that's where most investors completely drop the ball, right? They don't truly follow up. Or if they do, they don't do it in the right way. It's like they're just blasting that person, like until the person just gets annoyed. And because of that, they're trying to get something to stick, but they're not really getting good quality because of it, right? They send one letter and that's it, maybe one text, maybe a call, or again, they go overboard the other direction and then they move on. What statistically is the case? Well, most people either ignore it if it's one touch, or they get annoyed and ignore it if you do multiple aggressive touches. But most deals actually happen in a 5 to 8 range. So 5 to 8 touches to a person is where most deals happen. But again, they need to be spread out. They need to be systematic. So if you're not following up in the correct way, you're basically walking away from deals that someone else is going to get. It might be ones that I'm getting, right? It might be ones that my students are getting. I've heard people talking about counties that I work in, and they're like, I'm not getting any deals. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I've reached out to X amount of people and I've gotten X amount of deals in that county, right? So the good news when it comes to this is You don't need to manually reach out to all these people. You don't need to manually be sending messages, manually be sending letters. You can build a follow-up system and let it run, right? CRM that we use, it has drip campaigns, it has voicemail drips, it has auto SMS. Those tools all do the heavy lifting in this business now. You just need to set it up, you need to put things in it, and you need to stay consistent. Now, with that, one of the most common excuses that I hear is, I don't have time to manage all of that. Well, I get it. Life's busy. Maybe you're doing this part-time. Maybe you've got a job. But here's the truth, right? If you're relying on outdated one-touch marketing because you don't have time to build a real system, then you're basically just choosing failure right out of the gate. Today's tech, with your CRMs, with the automation that's built in, with AI, it lets you follow up better with doing less. I talked about sending just a few hundred pieces a week. Sending a few hundred pieces of mail alone with no follow-up 10 years ago involved more of our time and more effort than all of these systems do today because of the way the technology and the AI works, right? You can remove yourself from 95% or more of the day-to-day things in this. You can stay out of the situation completely and you could still get massive results, right? You don't need to be relying on luck if you're relying on systems. So what does this all boil down to? Well, let's just kind of sum up what we talked about. First, these sloppy blind offer letters are going to kill your credibility. Cold calls without proper training and where it's clearly evident that you have no clue what you're doing, you're just wasting your time, you're wasting your leads. One-touch marketing in 2025 is completely dead. Shotgun marketing with bad data is just a bunch of nonsense and also a waste of time and postage. However, if you have strategic depth, automation, and patient follow-up, that's how you can get deals in 2025. And if you say that you don't have time, well, that just means that you need better tools inside of this business. So this business still works, and it works incredibly well. But again, only if you're doing it right. You can't show up with a purchase agreement that contradicts itself on the same page, or put someone on the phone who has no clue what they're saying and expect the seller on the other end to take them seriously. You've got to show up like a professional. And again, today that means being smarter, it means going deeper, and it means being system driven. Now, if you're listening to this and this hits home and you realize that you might be doing this and you might be part of this problem, what I say to you is good. That's the first step to getting better. So if you're realizing this, then that's where you can make adjustments. So, feel free to comment on this. If you're watching this on YouTube or wherever, or Facebook or whatever, if you're listening to it, it's a little different, but whatever, maybe if you're in a position where you can comment, drop a comment. Let me know what kind of marketing that you're using right now. And if you're serious about building a system that actually works, not just another template from 2015, then reach out to us. Our information's down below. We're more than happy to help. We can show you exactly what we're doing, the tools, the automation, all of the different things to actually get deals done today. So again, thank you for joining us on Crushing Land. You can still do exactly what I'm saying. You can still crush it in land in 2025 by simply adapting the way that you're doing things, using the right systems, using the right tools, being smart about it, going with follow-up and doing all of these things, and most importantly, ignoring tactics from 10 years ago and focusing on what works today. So thanks for joining us on Crushing Land, and we'll see you next time.